So the first bill you're going to be testifying on is 5075. It repeals the $1 surcharge on landlines and wireless phones. The fiscal impact to the state estimate is approximately a $14 million loss to the general revenue fund.
You know, when I started on this a couple of years ago, I got involved in this because of the fact that people were getting put on hold when they were calling 911. But as I continued to get deeper into this bill, I was really shocked the more I learned about the 911 system as a whole. For example, 911 ceased to exist as an entity in 2008. Starting in 2009, it was rolled under public safety, under the purview of the head of state police. If you were to cost out what it actually costs to run 911, it comes out to about $5.4 million. However, the state has been collecting in excess of $15 million. Think about that. So the consumer is getting a bill on their landline of $1 and a bill of $1 plus 26 cents on their cell phone, thinking it's going to fund 911. But it in fact is not doing that. Now you have a handout, and your handout will show you that since that entity ended, and unfortunately, this is on the scale of 38 studios. We're talking about $75 million. Well, we have collected, and you'll see it on your sheet, $117,865,853. Unbelievable. Incredible. Now, and I appreciate the fact that this money, where is it going? Not to fund 911, because 911 doesn't exist. It's going to fund state operations, which would be fine if people signed up to do that. But that's not what people signed up for. That's not what this fund was set up for. Now, my colleague, the vice chair, Teresa Tanzi, I always love when she comes to testify in HEW, because whether I agree with her testimony or not, whether we agree sometimes or we don't, she always, or many cases, brings props. And I love her props, and I always love that, and I tell you that all the time. Well, I brought a couple of props with me tonight. I brought a lemon, and I brought a bottle of lemonade. Because we've got to find a way to turn a lemon, this 911 surcharge, into lemonade. Really, that's what we need to do. Now, my minority leader has another bill that's you're going to hear later, where she attempts to do that. And I think it's, you know, a good idea. However, so much damage has already been done to the tune of $117 million, almost $118 million. It's really hard for me to say, you know what, water under the bridge, we'll move on, and we'll just, from here on forward, we'll invest that money in the 911 system. Well, for me, I think we have to find another approach. I honestly think it's a great idea, but I think we need to find another way to do it, because I think we need to end this, and I think we need to give people their money back, take this off our bills, and move forward. Yes, and the last couple of years, I heard, and I started again thinking it was just a matter of, you know, wait times, and we needed to hire a few more people. And as we got into it and saw the cost, the money collected, used for other purposes, I mean, it's unconscionable. So, Chairman Gallison and then Chairman Abney last year, they both said, you know, that would be nice to do, but we need the money. You know, well, that's true. We do need the money. But again, to do something where people are thinking it's going one place and goes, you know, that is unconscionable. So, as a former chaplain, and I wish Chairman Abney was here, he's former military, you know, when I went to my captain would always say, you know, chaplain, never come to me with a problem you don't have a solution for. Well, I think I have a solution for the problem. And it's in the form of a new position that we need to create, and it's called the Inspector General position. And I'm going to have this gentleman who's well-versed, and, you know, we met, and he just really blew me away, and some people are familiar with him more than I am. And how did I get down the IG road? Well, for me, it was a simple matter. About 10 years ago, my minority leader had seen an activity going on by one of our members, former Finance Chair Gallison, Raymond Gallison, and she raised the issue, but nothing ever happened with it. And sadly, as we all know, he was convicted, and it was in fact in USA Today, little blurb of taking money from a client's account to the tune of $800,000. But I also remembered what my minority leader had said about he had also an educational enterprise that he had been operating, and she had some questions about it. And so I went up to the third floor and I said, could I get the figure of what he collected, because it operated from 1996 to 2016. How much did he get over 20 years? And I was told, well, that figure's out there. And I said, well, I read 4 newspapers a day, and I haven't seen it. So eventually I did get that figure. And the figure amounts to $3,783,000 for essentially, I think, if I understand correctly, potentially a fake educational enterprise, or enterprise that didn't do what it was ultimately supposed to be doing. So that's how I got involved in an IG, someplace where somebody like my minority leader could go to say, hey, could you at least look at this? But, talking to this gentleman, he's really opened my eyes to what an inspector general's position could really be, and a way to really fund government, to help government. And so I'm excited about this. And so it's much more than I envisioned. And it goes to your comment, Chairman, about, the loss of revenue. Where do we find that revenue? And so I'm going to turn this over to this gentleman because I think it's really important.
So before you go there...
Yes. Any questions on the other? Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Before you go there, I'd like to... are there any questions in regards to House Bill 5075 in regards to an act relating to the PUC 911 Emergency Telephone Number Act? Any questions? Leader Morgan.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative Lancia, how much of the money that's collected, so it's almost $15 million a year that's collected, how much of it is used for 911 services?
About $5 million.
About $5 million.
Yes.
All right. Okay, only $5 million. So another $10 million is siphoned off.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Representative McLaughlin.
Yes, Rep. Lancia, I have a question. If you've got actual cost of $5 million and they're actually exceeding it, was $14 million you stated?
In some cases, as you'll see from the chart, over $15 million. $15
million. So you got $10 million. I agree with you in principle, in reference to basically this needs to be corrected, okay, this funding, but I also would like to know where that $10 million, okay, just what function it actually serves, and what we fund with that $10 million. It could be something as worthy as 911 or up to that standard. I would insist, okay, that a sub-A or something be done in light designating, okay, that $10 million to be appropriated for. We have many needs in the state, many noble causes and charities, to be actually designated for that and put it in perspective. With that, that's what I would like to ask you. What do you think of that?
Well, Representative McLaughlin, I had signed onto your bill in reference to the governor's education bill, where you wanted to bring some of that money back into the public schools, which are in sorely need of help, the physical buildings. That's a possibility, but my minority leader does have a bill where, because one of the things we do know is that the 911 services, and Katie Davis had been following what I've been doing and interviewed me a couple of times. She went to West Warwick, for instance, and the gentleman showed her, it looked like a stereo set, box, and it was supposed to be full of equipment, but it was empty with a bunch of wires because they needed equipment but no one would give them the money for it. So even though we were collecting the money, it was being used in the general fund, not for those purposes. So they desperately need that money to upgrade their systems. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we're aware of that. But, you know, you can't have it both ways. No. You know, you got to either use it for what you collect it for, or in my case, give it back, because that's what you're telling people they're paying it for.
They need to be corrected.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell people you're collecting $15 million for 911 when you're not using it for that. And the other part of it is, and I suggested this before, and again, as I learn more, don't call it 911, because 911 doesn't exist. You could call it public safety, because that's what it falls under. You know, you could do that too. But even that name needs to go away, because it's disingenuous. It makes people think a certain thing is happening and it's not happening.
Yeah. If I may make a point of clarification,
Please.
I would appreciate if you would stop saying 911 does not exist, because when you pick up a phone and,
No, as a separate entity.
and you dial 911,
Yeah.
that works.
As a separate
So
entity.
Speak about it in appropriate terms so that the public is clear on this, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, that's
Thank
why I
you.
just say it doesn't exist as a separate entity. I apologize.